Hello everyone and welcome back to another React tutorial. In today's video, you will understand useCallback hook, what is useCallback and how to implement it. In React official docs, it is defined as useCallback is used to catch a function definition between re-renders. It is simply defined, but as a beginner, we can't really wrap our mind around this concept before going through why we need to use it in the first place. So in this guide, I will explore it step by step, so keep watching till the end. Make sure to subscribe, press the bell icon so you won't miss out on future updates. Let's get started. For this tutorial, I prepared a very basic demo application. It is a basic search functionality and also a button to change theme color. List of books. If I open VS Code, you will see I have book app component. And there I have written some code to render on screen. In this functional component, I register a state which takes books of array as an initial value, and also I registered another state with the default theme color. Then I have these handler functions, so item should render based on event. This getRandomColor function, calling it from the utils file. This function here will generate a random color on every button click. So here if I type letter in this input field, it should only keep matching items and filter out other items in the array. And on button click, let's change theme color. Here in the JSX, I am passing search book component, which is a child component in our case. Search book component receiving a prop on search from the parent component and contains input field. This arrow function here inside onChange calls on search prop with the current value of the input field and forward the input value to the parent component's handle search function. In child components, in search book component, let's pass console to indicate when the component renders. So here console and the message rendering child component. Now let's clear it. Now when I type, you will see child component is re-rendering, and when I click this button, again clear it, it is still being re-rendered. Rendering of such component makes a lot of sense when I search because the list is updating based on theme. But for change theme button, it doesn't make sense because updating theme has nothing to do with the search component. So it is not a huge problem of being re-rendered because it is very basic app and contains very little code, but still we can optimize it. To prevent unnecessary rendering of child component when its parent is updated, we could wrap search book component with memo. I already covered memo function in my last video. Go ahead and check it out. Basically, memo function return memoize component. We can import memo from React in the search book component file and then wrap this component function with memo. So here I will use memo method and open parenthesis and here close parenthesis. Now if I save it, clear it, now I should not rendering the child component, right? Let's click on the theme button. You will see this strange behavior. It is still re-render the child component. So what happened here? Is there a problem with memo function? Let's again revise memo function definition. Memo function compares previous props value with the current props value and only execute memoize component again when its props are not the same as on the last render, means it has changed. Let's look at the prop. Here the search book component receive on search prop and this prop receive a function as a value handle search. So according to the definition of memo function, this on search prop is changing every time parent component is re-rendered. But why such behavior? Let's look into it. When component function execute or re-render again, all the code inside that component also get executed. The state register again function is recreated and also JSX runs again. In JavaScript, when you compare a string, it will return true. When you compare number, it will also return true. But comparing function, return false. Also, the object will also return false. In JavaScript, functions are just a value, or we could say they are objects, which means when component function re-execute, a new object is created. So when book app component re-renders, a new handle search function object is recreated. That's why function prop is not treated as equal and on search prop. In the search book component will be different between render cycles. When React takes a look at the new render value and compare it to the last render prop value, it will see that these two are different. And this is why memo function optimization won't work alone. It will re-execute the child component even though props are unchanged. For this complex problem, React gives us a simple solution. We can stop re-execution of the function by using useCallback hook. This is a syntax of the useCallback hook. UseCallback return memoize function itself and only run this function if one of the dependencies has changed. First, we can import it beside useState hook from React, and then we can wrap useCallback around a function. We call it inside functional component to useCallback. Then we can pass this function that we want to memoize as a first argument. So here I will just cut it and paste it here. As a second argument, we can now pass books. It is a state variable which is defined by using useState hook. So you should include it in the dependency array. So here, and if function doesn't depend on any external variables, an empty dependency array can be used. We can pass it like that. I'm sure this syntax is familiar to you. It is same as useEffect. UseCallback return that function that you wrapped. You can give the same name as your function name. So using const handle search. Here we already passed this function in onClick. By doing that, the function object won't be recreated every time its parent component execute again, and we can use the same function between renders. Now that handle search function is memoized by useCallback, you will see search list component is not rendering anymore. I'm clicking and clicking again, and it is clear. If I type, you will see it is executed again because values are changing. It is especially used when a function is passed down to child component as a prop to optimize performance. Let's see the other cases of use callback. We can optimize callback in useEffect also. Let's see the reason. Here let's define empty function called fetch data. Let's just suppose I need to establish network connection and this has side effects. So I will use useEffect. So here I will import it first. Call useEffect inside this component function. Now I will pass this function inside useEffect. So fetch data. And also I will pass function as a dependency array. So fetch data. As you know, it should pass inside array. If it is the case, if we are passing function as a dependency, then we can get stuck in an infinite loop. When you add any dependency to this effect, then you are telling React this effect function should be re-executed again when dependency value changes. And when the component function re-execute again, it will recreate function object between re-render, and React will take it as a new value. And when prop function, which is a function, will receive a new value, and React will compare those values and determine that these two are different. It will cause your effect to constantly call the function, and your application will be broken. To solve this, you can wrap the function you need to call from an effect into useCallback. So I will just import useCallback, and here I will just wrap this function with useCallback like this and pass empty array and return this function with the function name fetch data. And just like that, you can optimize the function in effect. It is simple to use and solve performance problem, but should you use callback hook for every event handler? The answer is big no. You should only use this hook for performance reasons, to prevent unnecessary rendering, and to optimize callback in useEffect. Be cautious not to overuse it. I hope in today's video you understand the basic idea of using useCallback, its implementation, and why we need to use it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, share, and comment. And follow me on Instagram. I will see you in the next one.